pace, the projected time, finishing time, 1:59.42. They'll be hovering around that, I'm sure, for many, many kilometres, so we won't mention it all the time. But yeah, setting off at a nice, steady tempo. I say steady tempo, world record tempo, because we tend to get a little blasé about it, don't we, when Kipchoge's involved?
We do, and we were talking last night, amongst other things, about what it's like to run at that speed, and you and I have been on treadmills in various parts of the world, and you know, I challenge anybody to get onto a treadmill and set it at 20 kilometres plus an hour and see how long you can last. It is absolutely frightening just to do it for 30 seconds or a minute, never mind for 2 hours. It really is super quick.
Well, Kipchoge at 2:47, 2:48 per kilometre will be well inside world record schedule, and if he gets it right, he'll get to 5k in about 14:10, 14:12, something like that.
And already, Tim, a gap opening up between him and this man, Amos Kipruto, and we were wondering, and just to remind you, they've both been assigned 3 pacemakers each, different pacemakers. And just to underline, neither of the two main protagonists had given any information about what sort of pace they were going out at. I think there's a few mind games going on there, but there is Amos Kipruto, who is the second favourite here. 2:03.13, his personal best. All he really said of any real note in the press conference was, I'm aiming to improve on that personal best. We shall find out.
Well, that little group of 5 has broken away really quickly. Is it 5? Yes, it is. Wow. That indicates, Chris, clearly just how fast they're moving at. Under 2 hours tempo. And there's the group to the top right of picture already with about a 50-metre lead as they cross the river there.
Yeah, over at the Spree for the first time. They'll come back later on in the race.
Approaching 4k just after the river. And then on to Alt-Moabit Strasse to the northwestern corner of the route, which is basically a rather convoluted way of saying it's a clockwise course around the city, but it's not quite as simple as that.
Kipchoge was asked why Berlin again rather than New York, because he'd said quite openly he wanted to try and win all 6 marathon majors. Boston, obviously, as we've mentioned, didn't go well, and I think the feeling was that he wanted to come back somewhere familiar. You know, he's won here 4 times, he's raced here 5 times. And he knows where he is, doesn't he? He says it's like coming home. He knows the team right from the arrival at the airport. Let's just dip in to see how Petros is getting on, the leading German. Looking good. Amanal Petros, 28 years old, with the record at 10k and half marathon and marathon. He's the fastest German in history over all those distances. But this is his debut in Berlin, and it's his hometown as well. He lives in Berlin. What an opportunity for him to get that qualifying time. Born and raised in Eritrea, fled the country as a teenager. Spends much of his year in Kenya. He's been training up in the Rift Valley with a group up there, and only came actually back to Germany just a few days ago, last Wednesday or Thursday.
What's interesting, Chris, is that you saw him run in the Brussels 10,000 back on the 8th of September. So what, just 2.5 weeks ago, he ran 27.47, their personal best. Now that would ordinarily be very, very good indication that he's in fine fettle. The leg speed, the turnover is there, and the strength is there. But I just wonder if that wasn't a bit too close to this. You don't get too many elite marathon runners doing a 10,000 a couple of weeks before.
No, that's right. Yeah, it was a little bit odd. But it was a great night in Brussels that evening in the 10,000 metres. Meanwhile, Kipchoge has got his foot on the gas here. He really means business, and I wonder whether there's going to be for him a reaction. He wants to get that frustration of Boston out of his system. Totally different course, of course, Tim, with all the hills, and yeah, he was a little bit irritated, I think, when somebody suggested, had he shown the Boston course enough respect? Because he went off very quickly, and did he really die on the hills in the latter stages?
Well, and many people said, look, he didn't. That respect would have manifested itself by doing some adjustments in training, and apparently he didn't adjust his training to accommodate those hills. Perhaps he felt that he does enough hill work as it is in his workouts. By the way, his 4th kilometre was a 2:50. That is exactly on 2-hour tempo, so they're still on schedule for under 2 hours at the moment. Approaching 5k, as you can see, bottom left of screen. And all looking looking good so far, touch wood.
Yes, and just to remind you, we will refer back to what happened here last year, which I hope you find is useful as a comparison, and we don't want to bombard you with too many numbers, but 14:14, look at the clock on the bottom of the picture. 14:14 is what he went through at 5 kilometres last year, and it's just inside. We'll wait for confirmation of that, but it looks very close, Tim, to the 14:14 of 12 months ago.
Yeah. 5K 14:11.
There you go.
It was a 2:50 again, so metronomic running from Kipchoge, and the pacemakers so far doing a great job. All credit to them. They've got Act 1 right.
Well, that's the first big tick. That's the first milestone ticked off. So